blessed unity with the L-O-V-E. Love is a solution, so set your love free with the L-O-V-E. Further evolution and blessed unity.
Hello, good morning, beautiful people. Welcome to the Self-Love Show. It is your host, Dawn Light, and my beautiful sister here, Trish, right? Yay, we're back. Our weekly show to discuss all the things about self-love, authenticity, where we value ourselves, spirit, everything good, and how to unravel all those places inside that keep us from residing in that place. So today is a really lovely topic. It's called how to receive criticism with love. This is a big one, right? Because it can feel really like when somebody's like, when you want to take it as criticism, like harsh sometimes. And it's polishing the diamond. So it's really learning to listen with love is key in this time frame, right? When these things are happening in our world. So we're excited to have you here and discuss the topic of today. We always share two tools. So one is self-empathy, and today's tool will be receiving feedback effectively. And I'm going to facilitate that. And yeah, welcome to our viewers. Thank you for those that show up weekly. We really greatly appreciate your support. And thank you, Love Coach Academy, for hosting us. And we just really appreciate this time weekly to dive in this way and have these conversations and share tools and resources. It lifts our spirit, and I just feel like it's such a part of my purpose work, and really grateful for the opportunity. So welcome today, and welcome, Miss Trish.
Hi all. Good morning. Today's topic is really close to my heart. There's been a couple places in my life over the last week that I've taken feedback or criticism pretty deeply and been like, oh gosh, that was really sensitive, and the way that I heard it was very harshly. And a friend was expressing her experience of a conversation and a topic that I was having online, and I was like, wow. And her reflection back was really strong for me. And I took it really personally. And so as I'm taking it really personally, I'm now out of the moment. I'm totally, completely out of the moment in my running my story, or running my constant like, oh shit moment. And I'm just like, oh gosh, what does that mean about me? What does that mean about her? What does that mean about our relationship? And yeah, I took it so strongly to my core that it shook me. And I had an opportunity to really look at what she was trying to say and really get feedback from another person that was sitting in deep compassion. And I really wish that I had this tool last week so that I could have run through it with, well, just taken the gems sooner, or not been so reactive. Being human, being reactive. So I really appreciate this. Thank you for sharing your tool today, Miss Dawnlight.
Yes, excited to.
I want to give you all an opportunity to type in kind of, where do you take criticism or feedback personally? Is that something that happens for you in your life, or are you the master that's able to like just transform it into understanding the gem and the lesson there? What's the last, how does it feel when you take that personally, or how does that feel when you can transmute that energy into something that's, that you can just like hear like, oh, that person actually is, sharing this beautiful gem, this beautiful piece of gold with me. And it might be heated because it's supposed to touch that, that place in me to get me all like, I'm curious. And how about you, Dawn?
I mean, it's been a long life of learning here in this way, because my dad spoke to me so harshly as a child that any criticism that came my way, even if it was constructive, I took it to heart so long in my life. So again, like I was just sharing with a friend this morning about, we don't have to make it mean anything about us when someone is out of alignment or off their center or responding harshly. It's really key that we don't have to internalize that and make it about ourselves. So, and as I've aged, and it comes with age, I think wisdom comes with age, right? And all the tools I've learned, I've just been on a deep seeking and exploring place in my life of always seeking the truth, and always how to show up in a higher and better way. Like I push myself. I have that desire inside to, grow and learn always a easier, better way to do things. Not easier, but do you see what I'm saying? Where it's like I'm seeking the truth of the situation and how to respond in a way where I'm centered and neutral, and that matters to me. So yeah, it's interesting, it's the growth edge. That's what's happening, is that information is coming along to stimulate you, and then it's stimulating that growth edge and rubbing that area that feels like, ooh, God, I'm not ready to reveal that yet, or I didn't even know that was there. Holy cow, and it can feel really tender and raw, and there's a lot of things attached to it, like belief structures that, old misidentifications in there that are things that you bought in about yourself, possibly, that just aren't true, maybe attached to your worthiness or your not enoughness, or, that you couldn't speak up for your needs because you were afraid your needs weren't being met. Something like that, those things happen. I'm just using those as examples. So yeah. Do you hear others' feedback through a lens of harshness, or does it often hurt your feelings? Or do you make their criticism mean something about you? This shows will give you tools to transform your belief around feedback and criticism. They hear the gems that are available for you in today's tools. So this is a big topic for Trish and I. We were discussing, our life, and we have the just pleasure of always working together. And I just so appreciate this opportunity that Spirit has placed in our lives. And we always share deeply with one another all the time and coach each other. And it's so beautiful. So this just naturally came forward, and I was like, let's make this a show, because I think this is really useful in our life, because criticism is a part of our life, no matter what relationship you have. Working relationship, partnership, love relationship, all of it. So, yeah. Yay.
Well, I invite you all to find a place inside of you that you've recently that you've felt really criticized. Find a place in you that someone was giving you constructive feedback or was criticizing you, and I invite you to just drop in for a moment to those feelings. Just for a brief second. Can you run the thought process? Give it about 15 seconds. What did you take that to mean about you? What was the thought? The running story. Now, as you're hearing that, I invite you to drop down into your heart center and really feel the feelings that you felt or are feeling now in this moment. What did it feel like to take on that criticism or hear that feedback harshly? How are you feeling there? Was it sadness or fear, disappointment? Are you feeling the need to defend yourself? Give yourself really the opportunity to feel into your heart. What did that feel like? Now, as you drop in further, keep going down. Dropping down into what you want. What are the wants associated with those feelings? Did you want safety and connection? Were you wanting and needing to be validated for your, or acknowledged for your authentic expression, for the work that you're doing, the curiosity and the flow that you're in? What were the wants associated with those feelings? And as you drop down into your body, ask yourself if anyone else can meet those needs for you right now. Or in that moment, was that person able, capable, resourced, emotionally resourced to meet those needs for you? Were you able to meet those needs for you? Now, just taking a nice deep breath in, getting really honest. If they weren't able to meet your needs, how could you have met your needs there? Or how can you meet your needs now? And maybe it's a need for safety or connection or being heard or having authentic acknowledgement. How can you resource yourself in this moment? And how could you have resourced yourself in that moment? And as you open your eyes again, type what you found in the chat box. How are you feeling, Dawn?
I'm just feeling so grateful for this work. And, the self-empathy tool is so powerful. I use it all the time. Anytime I'm going through anything, like this morning, like I had a rough night of sleep because my husband works late, and and it was nothing. He was just cleaning his desk after work, but he didn't text me or leave a message to say, hey, I'm staying late. So I woke up in the middle of the night, kind of panicked or freaked out, like, where are you? And I had to call. And then that energy awoke me. So then I didn't sleep well, so in the morning, like when I went and got in the shower, a friend had to stop by early, and I just had to resource myself. And, the self-empathy tool, immediately I gave myself love. I was like, I filled myself up and was like, this is a pleasure. I get to do this experience. It's a gift. And then that gave me the energy moved through my body. Like, all right, I can arise and do this and feel excited about it and thankful, instead of a feeling of like dragging. There's two ways it could have gone, right? I could have felt like not energized by the lack of sleep, or energized. Chose to fill my cup at that moment. And yes, I'll take a nap today, but I chose to fill my cup with empathy, if that makes sense.
Absolutely. And I love how you're really bringing your self-resourcing back to the self-empathy tool, because that's really the key piece, is that you chose empathy and compassion for yourself and for the other over being reactive. And that's why we run this tool every week, every time. It's because it's the foundation to self-love. It's being the friend, being the love, being the kind, gentle person for yourself.
And the beautiful gift in it is because I gave myself empathy before I got out of bed, and I realized, wow, my body feels tired, but I'm going to choose to be positive about this opportunity. And, that it lifted me, that positivity. The beautiful thing is I was able to speak to my husband and make a request and say, okay, for future show dates, since I have the show in the morning, would you be able, I have a request. And I opened the conversation in that way. I have a request. And he said, what is it? And I said, would you mind not staying out late, the night before? And it wasn't like he was out partying. He was cleaning his desk at work, and like he works late and then has to drive an hour home. So it wasn't like a bad thing at all. He was taking care of himself. And and it was a sweet conversation. Like there was no shame, there was no guilt, there was no like you did this and now I'm having this, like, which could happen, you know, especially when sleep is lack of sleep, you know, that is a place where our needs, you know, that's a basic need, right? And it could be, I think in the past, like a few years ago, I would have totally thrown that way out of proportion, and I know I would have. And so I just could really see how much work I've done, because it wasn't nothing. I just was able to like make a request, and it was heard, and we agreed, and that was it. It was beautiful.
And you also passed your request through compassion, through the filter of compassion. So he likely took this feedback or criticism really well, because you were centered, resourced, like, oh, I'm just wondering if this could be a thing.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was just like a request being spoken, and he was like, yeah, I can honor that, you know. And it was like love speaking to love. It was not any triggering thing at all, and it was great. Like I love that conversation. I was so thankful to have it, because I was like, great, because I like being able to sleep at night, and I don't want to worry about my man, you know. Just had so much compassion for all the times I've traveled and he's laid in bed worried about me, and brought me home to that. Like, I'm so sorry that ever happened, you know.
There's so much love there.
Yeah.
And I'm also hearing your value for connection. You're really, and there's also a value for showing up for these, like our show, in feeling like grounded and centered. So I love that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it means the world to me. I want to show up with all of me and be my highest and best self. Like, I always hold myself to that standard in life. Like, that's important to me.
And you know what? You showing up the way you are right now is showing up on all of you. Like, we're the vulnerability people. Like, of course, we're just show up and like, today. And that's
right.
All
yeah. And this is a perfect, this opportunity is vulnerable. Be vulnerable every week online. And like, I'm just like, wow, what a great thing. Like, thank you, Spirit.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I also like to read what Christopher said. I tend to allow criticisms to become way blown out of proportion. How perfectly human. Criticism from another typically triggers some confirmation bias from my pre-existing, much harsher inner critic. This can compound into a hyper focus on the criticism, which then makes it a perceived flaw. This exactly. Like,
yes.
You have absolutely pinpointed why criticism can be so painful and so fiery. Well, guess what? Dawnlight has a perfect tool for you.
I'm going to work tool. I was just going to say something about your statement here. And it's like, it's that inner critic, you know, and it's all the language around the inner critic that causes us to we go immediately into fight or flight. And then we have no idea, no ability to like be resourced and, you know, tap into the frontal lobe of communication and drop into our heart. We're like completely checked out because our brain is in that place of like running the story around what the criticism has evoked, you know, in us. And then that's the trigger, right? To lean in with curiosity and like lean in and be curious. Okay, I'm not going to listen to my inner critic that's told me this kind of story or lie my whole life. I'm going to lean in and get curious about it and go, what's there? Yes, I'm triggered, and I can sit in the pain and the uncomfortableness of that. I feel it. It feels alive. Like sometimes it feels like a sharpness or like a roughness, or it can feel all kinds of ways. And get used to it. Like, wow, instead of it being like, oh crap, I got to run from that and like all this emotional reactivity, get curious and lean in and feel it and just feel and like notice, wow, I'm really triggered right now from this experience that felt so rough. And what are the feelings underneath that? You know, you can tap in and use the empathy. And then I'm going to take it even further and lead you through a little bit of a process right now. So this is called Receiving Feedback Effectively, and it is a beautiful University of Santa Monica tool written by Mary Holnick. Huge fan of her. She has been like sitting at the feet of an ascended master for the last 2 years, literally, like profound experience in my life. And I was able to heal a lot of deep grief, sadness, sorrow, karma, the energy of betrayal and abandonment and all of those things that were like stories from my childhood. I was able to fully lay it down and lay it to rest, that I don't have to run those stories in my life anymore. And just deep, great gratitude for you, Mary. So, it makes me teary-eyed. Just such a powerful experience in my life. So I'm happy to be sharing this tool with you guys. So we are receiving and processing feedback constantly. I'm going to read you a little something here. Whether we recognize it or not, feedback comes to us primarily through the experiences we attract and the ways others respond to us. When we approach life from a learning orientation, this is key, learning orientation, we become students in a classroom rich with feedback, bringing us opportunities for growth and learning. Learning to receive feedback effectively is of great value. Openness to receiving feedback regarding our attitudes, behaviors, thought processes, and the outcomes flowing from them is the first step. Essential to this learning how to create an inner environment of self-acceptance and self-compassion in which you can recognize feedback as simply information for you to consider, evaluate, and assimilate using your own wisdom and discernment. That's big. So the challenge many of us have when receiving feedback is taking it personally and reacting by explaining, justifying, or defending ourselves, or verbally attacking the other person. Sometimes we hear negative, course-corrective feedback from others as judgments of us. This may not be accurate, and it may be that the feedback is touching a place inside where you are holding judgments against yourself. If upset occurs, it's an opportunity to bring loving to the part inside that hurts, and to compassionately forgive yourself for taking the feedback personally and or for judging yourself or another. A second challenge that can occur is the definition of positive feedback. Sometimes acknowledgement and recognition or prizing from others may bring up shame or embarrassment. Learning to open your heart and authentically receive positive feedback with gratitude and graciousness can support you in standing up more fully in the authentic self. Just as negative course-corrective feedback is insufficient reason for judging and blaming yourself, justifying your unworthiness, similarly, positive feedback is no reason to get caught in the ego pattern of self-importance and recognition. Properly utilized, feedback can support you in the evolution of your consciousness and awakening into authentic self. So I will now guide you through a process of receiving if you are experiencing it now with another person. So it's kind of an imagining you're having a conversation with another person because I'm going to be guiding you. So this is a powerful tool to learn to receive feedback effectively. Here we go. So I invite you to take a centering breath. And you can put your hand on your heart. So it's just reminding you to be connected to the loving essence that you are, that you always are. Loving essence is flowing through you, to you, as you, in you, experiencing itself. So center yourself in your authentic self and invoke your inner counselor. And always be aware that you are talking with another loving essence, calmly experiencing everything that their personality or ego is going through, regardless of their current thoughts, feelings, or behaviors. Consciously look for that loving essence, for it is always present in you and the other person. Remember, the person before you has all the inner resources necessary to effectively respond to their situation. Focus your awareness in the safe space within your own heart, affirming your capacity to hold in your neutrality and loving as you receive feedback. Remember, Who you are, a divine being having a human experience, is independent from your behavior. That's powerful. Remember, who you are, a divine being having a human experience, is independent from your behavior. And utilize your soul-centered awareness to tune into seeing the loving essence and hearing the loving essence within yourself and the other person before you. Again, soul-centered awareness to tune into seeing the loving essence and utilize the loving essence within yourself and the other person before you. So remember, it's not necessary to agree or disagree with the feedback. It is simply information. Let go of the need to justify, defend, or explain yourself or deflect what is shared. Be open and compassionately honest with yourself. Use feedback as an opportunity to create greater awareness. Give yourself time and space to consider, evaluate, and assimilate the information using your wisdom and discernment. If you find yourself reacting to feedback with "I'm upset because," and with judgment of yourself or another, move into your heart and gently work with compassionate self-forgiveness. Seek out the judgments. That's what compassionate self-forgiveness is. Seek out the judgments that you're holding against yourself or the other and immediately drop into forgiving yourself and the other for the judgment you find. And again, compassionately self-forgive around what judgments are coming forward for yourself. And when you receive positive feedback, let it into your heart, responding with gratitude and graciousness. So I'm going to say a little quote here that's by Rumi. Criticism polishes my mirror. If you are irritated by every rub, how will your mirror be polished? And I want to say one more thing. I ran through the tool for today about criticism, positive and negative. So it's really learning to slow down when we're receiving criticism. Like you get the telltale feeling that it's coming and then learn immediately to, like, instead of holding your breath, start to breathe and slow yourself down so that you can assimilate it. And there's that really beautiful space between information and reaction or how you respond. There's a space. So it's in that space is where you're assimilating, responding to the criticism. And when you're sourced through self-empathy and, compassionate, loving care, you are able to assimilate the information that's come through and recognize, is that true for myself? Is that, and you can kind of go into that investigation before you respond out of reactivity. Then you're responding from love and like your truth around what was said. And that's everything, right? It's the spaciousness to give self an opportunity to discover what really is the information expressing and in evoking in us for an opportunity for healing and greater awakening. So thank you again for letting me share this tool today. I hope it has been beneficial. I'm excited to hear what people have said in the comments. This is amazing stuff, ladies. Thank you for saying that. And I love all the friends that tune in. We do this for you. So we really appreciate you, your feedback. Thank you.
Thank you, Dawn, for running such
How was that for you?
Thank you, Dawn.
Sorry to cut off. You're welcome.
So I was saying thank you for running the amazing tool. And slowing down is a really key piece. And taking a deep breath to, like, if you can run that self-empathy tool before and then be able to run this as you're really hearing it come in. I love the part of an affirming, oh God, what was it? Affirming your capacity to be neutral or something, affirming your neutrality. And I loved that piece. Like, oh yes, I understand that this is their perception and it's not about me. And they're sharing because they have feelings and needs. Mm-hmm. And I do too. And really being in that place.
And I can be neutral through hearing what they're saying.
Yeah.
Profound.
I'm curious. I do have a question. So in this experience that I had, I was able to be neutral the first kind of round of it, and then was able to offer my own compassion and empathy. And then the second round felt a little prickly. And so it became a little less of hearing them, but it was like, oh, she knew a place in me that was really like she could poke that would get me lit. And I think that's so perfectly human. It's not like she did it on purpose. She's not a mean-hearted person. It was just like, oh, that was the thing that got my whole body like lit on fire. And I'm like, oh, and if I could have just stopped, taken a deep breath there and been like, okay, this is a sensitive part for me. I can still be neutral and I can still hear. I can let it pass through my ear through a filter of love, kindness, and compassion, not only for myself, but from the other person who really wants to be seen and to be connected and to be honest and heard and fully express themselves without taking it on as something that means something about me. Like, did it mean something about me? Well, it didn't the first time. The second time I made it about me.
Right. Which is always what happens when we, this is the thing about criticism, because it's lighting a place where there's a growth edge inside of us, or a deeply held misidentification that's already been there from past occurrences that have occurred. And so it's an opportunity. What has happened is Spirit is working diligently through every soul we know to come along and gently like, oh, I'm just going to rub up against you right there, so that little spot right there is out of alignment with like the authentic self.
Right.
And
so if I hadn't already see what you're pointing to, and I just want to make it really clear for people, is that if I hadn't already had that belief or thought or something, it wouldn't be painful. Like that is the point there. So the fact that it comes up, it's not that the person even knew that was a sensitive
they
spot.
don't.
That if that wasn't already living in me, it wouldn't be an issue at all. It wouldn't be a challenge. And the fact that she said it just is a place of, oh, this negative feeling or this discomfort or this upset that I'm feeling is a direct pointer to the work that I'm doing. Like, oh, because I take that personally, that's something that I get to look at and love deeper in myself.
And own it and say, that's mine, right? And not put it on the other person. Not for people when they're not willing to take full responsibility for what's coming forward for them. Oh, did I disappear? Oh, to take full responsibility for what's coming forward for them, then that's where shaming and blame can take place, is because they're projecting it onto the other person, like, I'm, you said this, or whatever the dynamic is, but this is where, when we're neutral, we can receive the criticism and feel the trigger of our own and recognize, oh, that's mine. I'm triggered right now. What is that? And then get curious, and then do your personal work around self-forgiveness or whatever identification that's falling away, that you're like, wow, that is very old, and I feel that, and I give myself permission to let that go now.
Wow, that brings me to this thought of, so taking full responsibility for yourself means owning that your feelings are literally created and coming from within you.
Yes.
It's unlikely that someone's going to come to you and be directly mean. Now, if they're being directly mean and they know it, then that's a whole different conversation. But if I'm like, oh my gosh, my feelings, I have feelings about this. It's not because the other person, it's not like Dawn comes to me and is like, oh, I'm going to poke at that thing that I know. Like, she doesn't poke at the thing that I know.
I'm coming to poke you.
She probably, if she's gonna poke me at all, she's probably wanting something. She has a need that needs to be met. I know. She has a need that needs to be met or wants to be met. And the feeling that rises in me is something that's also coming from within me and a need that wants to be met. So if we're all coming from needs and wants and values that are wanting to be met and seen or honored, then like that's the self-empathy tool. Is like, oh, what is coming here? So I heard something the other day that I've been sitting with is that, oh gosh, I just lost it. It'll come back.
That's funny when that happens. You know, we'll talk about something else and it'll come forward. Your brain is amazing and it will resource itself and you'll remember.
It's okay.
I love the opportunity. I love the opportunity to be real and vulnerable here with everyone because it's profound to practice this, you know. And they told me this when in graduate school. It's like there's the theory where you learn the tools, and then there's the actual like embodying the tools. And so this actually gives me an opportunity to embody the work, right? Embody the tools because we're able to gather our thoughts weekly and talk about what we want the show to be about and kind of like weave in our experiences of our life and really create shows from that. And it's amazing. Like what a gift. And I love that everyone's getting a lot out of it, you know, because this is the work, right? It helps us be better communicators with one another and really learn to polish our diamond in a better way, right? And ultimately, you know, self-awareness, greater self-awareness, greater self-love, greater authenticity coming forward.
I wrote this thing down and it's like somewhere floating. It has like parts and pieces over here. It was so concise and distinct that I was like, ooh, this is really good. But I'm just going to fumble through it. We're not responsible for another person's trigger. Like we can manage ourselves in a way that's like, if I knew that there was something that just like literally made you explode and we had to pick up pieces for weeks, I would move in gentleness just because I love you. Like moving in kindness and gentleness and compassion is how I would move. And knowing that it's not my work, it's not my responsibility to manage your trigger. Right. And so this line was so beautiful, but it really looked like it's not your responsibility to manage my trigger. It's my responsibility to manage my feelings and my trigger. And that's the work that we do in the world. So if you want to know where to look, where the work is to be done, just saying, if you want to know where that is, it's really right there. That place where you're uncomfortable and you don't want to feel it and you're effing peed off and you're upset and you're like, and you want to push away really hard. That's the point. That's the place to look. Because that's the internal belief system that's coming up. And it's also really hard not to take it on. Because
sometimes I've been so triggered. Sometimes I've been so triggered that I literally have had to just put my hand on my heart and flood myself with love and just immediately just drop into a space of like flooding myself with loving and just acceptance of what was and what is, because it's been so painful and so intense, you know, and just cry and like have a physical release. That's happened to me.
Yeah, absolutely. So in the face of criticism, I'm just going to run the tools again, just to remind everybody who is now just kind of dropping into the call, is that, you know, always run the self-empathy tool first. Give yourself loving compassion. Remind yourself that you're your own friend, that if you can resource there, if you can come to every relationship or experience, whether it's, you know, like fiery or mellow or loving, like if you can come to that place in your own self-resourced state, then those connections are going to be so much deeper and connected. Like it's going to feel different. And so run the self-empathy tool for yourself, run empathy, which is the same tool, only for the other person or the other people. And then drop into this really beautiful tool around allowing criticism and feedback to come in as love. Do you want to overview that for everyone?
Sure. I'm just going to close my screen a little bit. You want me to run it again?
No, just overview it so that the people just dropping in can go back and watch the really.
So just remember your loving essence, and that you're always speaking to another a person that is loving essence, and that you can remain neutral in your connection and in your communication with this person, and that they are always have all the tools and resources within them to deal with their circumstance, with their situation, and so do you. You have always have the tools and resources within yourself to understand what is going on, to grow, to heal, to evolve through the conversation that's happening. And to focus your awareness in your heart and affirm your capacity to hold in your neutrality is big before and while you're receiving feedback. And remember, you're a human having a human experience, but you're a divine being having a human experience. And independent from your behavior, you're a divine being having a human experience. That's profound when you really start to see through that lens. That like, wow, it's not even a lens. That's the reality of it. I'm a divine being having a human experience. It really opens the viewpoint completely. That you're like, wow, every conversation, I'm holding a conversation with God. Like, that's profound. Every pair of eyeballs, even if the conversation is unconscious on their part, it's conscious on yours. So that's profound. So remember, it's not necessary to agree or disagree with feedback. It is simply information. Let go of the need to justify, defend, or explain yourself, or to deflect what is shared. That's huge, because a lot of times, sometimes if we are receiving positive feedback, criticism, right? Positive criticism, and it's too much for us, we can want to deflect it, like not take responsibility for it or not receive it. And it's like, well, why am I doing that? You know, it's a good thing to question it, like be curious. And that's why I love leading with curiosity. It opens the door to exploring the truth. So if you can really orient your mind to really accept, like, wow, I can lead with curiosity in everything. Even if I'm triggered, I can still lead with curiosity. So give yourself time and space to consider, evaluate, and assimilate the information using your wisdom and discernment. And there's that window, right, between stimulus and response, is that beautiful window that you can give yourself time to assimilate. You don't have to respond super quickly. You can take some deep breaths and just sit in your breath with them, and they'll notice you're doing it. And you can even say in the moment, if you're feeling triggered, wow, I'm feeling really triggered right now, and I think I need a moment to understand what I'm feeling. And that really gives you space to assimilate what's going on. It buys you some time with that person, so they're not feeling rushed, like you need to respond. No, you assimilate what's going on and respond out of a love for yourself, compassion for yourself, and empathy, and understand, like, wow, I have some sensitive feelings in there, and I'm ready to explore what this is. And maybe I'm not ready to finish this conversation. Can I come back when I know what's going on with me? That is a amazing way to show up in the conversation versus like reacting with like, well, you know, anger or frustration or unmet needs.
Absolutely. Again, coming back to self-resourcing and being able to be like, I'm really triggered right now, or I'm angry, and I'm like, well, that's not actually how it looks for me. It's like, I'm really angry right now. I need to take a break so that I can go, you know, resource myself, come to a place where I'm like, okay, I want to show up in a higher level of communication and kindness and compassion, and I am not capable. And that really is slow down, and come back to the conversation when you can be nice and kind and human, and find love again for the other person or the other people. Right? You're so brilliant.
And yourself.
And yourself, of course. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd like to just read Miss Diane's message. It says, self-knowledge is so valuable for improvement of self and happiness. Thanks for the wisdom. Yes, it's so true, huh? It's really, these tools that we give you are really to help you understand you, to help you be kind and more gentle to you. Because if you be kind and gentle to yourself, you'll be more gentle and compassionate in the world. It just works like that, right? You're not going to be like, oh, I love this kind, gentle heart of mine, and go like bumper carts in the grocery store. It's just not going to you're not going to be like, this person, I mean, you're still going to be human. Don't worry. But it's also, these tools are really developed to give you more a capacity for resilience, emotional resilience. And that's what we want for you and for everyone else, is to be able to run the tools. And, we've ran so many amazing tools just to help manage the emotional and the physical space and the spiritual spaces that we get into when things get crunchy and things get like, when things fall out of connection, right? Because that's what we want, right? Well, that's what I want. I'm going to speak for myself, but what I want is to stay connected. I want to stay, if I'm going to share my precious, amazing time with someone and develop relationship, that I want to stay in connection with them as much as I possibly can. And to find ways to communicate in compassion and love, to be in those places, right?
Yes, I really acknowledge you for saying that, because I share in the same deep value system there. I long for consistent connection, that there's never needs to feel like a break in the connection, that no matter what occurs, it can always be held in love.
I've been thinking about this particular line for, I don't know, maybe like 3 or 4 years. And a loving, beautiful partner that I had said that if you're feeling disconnected, it's literally created in you. Like, how would I know that you are disconnected from me unless you tell me? I could make up a story and I could deflect it on you, and I could be like, oh, you're disconnected. Well, no, it actually, if I'm feeling disconnection, it's because it's happening within me and I'm the one disconnected. And it can be pretty hard or challenging to find connection through your own disconnect, and the places coming back to connection with self, to connect out, right?
That's why I love this line. How you relate to the issue is the issue.
Yeah.
How you relate to yourself when you're going through the issue is the issue. And that's like the one spiritual psychology tool. There's many, there's 33, but that stuck with me the most. And like anytime I have anything occur, that's where I go immediately. That runs through my head. Did I disappear? That runs through my head. So I'm just so grateful for that. Like, how you relate to the issue is the issue.
Absolutely. So I'm wondering how you all are feeling about these criticism tools. I know that Christopher was watching and following along. I'm curious what my mom was thinking. Is she still here? Diane, how are you feeling? Like, the people who are watching, how are you feeling about these criticism tools? What are you getting out of it? I really invite you to share, or to share, on here, or give us feedback, because we're taking it. Or, just give yourself an opportunity to be seen right now in the work that you're doing. Because even if you're watching us do the work, you're still getting it, and it's still coming into you, and you're still shifting your cellular understanding of what criticism looks like.
I love what Diane just said. It says, so many people have anger inside themselves and need to adhere to the knowledge shared here for self-peace and awareness. It is so true. And this is the thing. This is the reason, this is the very reason why we want to share these tools weekly, is so that it spreads out into the world and gives that self-awareness to each person. Because when we take responsibility for all our feelings, all our emotions, that they come from within, that's where healing can really occur. It's like applying love to the places inside that hurt. And underneath anger is really just sadness and sorrow, you know, deep unmet needs and sorrow and sadness from things that have occurred underneath the anger. Hi, Irie. Oh my God, so glad you're here. Beautiful. I'm glad you're feeling it. You were meant to hear this today. So grateful. Yeah, so thank you, Diane, for saying that and speaking that, because it's true. It's a deep desire of mine, and the reason why I do the work in the world is because I was met with so much anger as a child. My dad was rageful and so angry, and I took that to mean so deeply, like I was so deeply hurt by that it really affected my life for so long. So now I know that when other people are angry, it's not about me. It's their own trigger, and so I can respond out of loving and not let it take me out of my center. That I can hold in my center in neutrality and experience and witness for them, but I don't have to make it mean anything about me. And that's huge accomplishment.
And I'd also like to say that the mirror image of that is that when you're angry, it's not about the other person. It's that something's happening in you.
Mm-hmm.
So if you can see the distinction here of how criticism, if you're taking it as criticism, it's a belief system inside of you. Or if the other person is taking it as criticism, it is something happening within them, right? Yes. So again, slowing it down, coming back to neutrality, coming back to center, whether you have to take space or whether you can, sit with a pause. The like beautiful pause of I can come back and be present, and the anger is coming up inside of me. It might be stimulated by something someone else said or did, but it's not because of them.
And sometimes, what's helpful is I'll even, if it happens when I'm out and about and not at my home, I'll go to the bathroom and literally wash my hands and remind myself I am loving essence, and look myself in the eyes and say to myself, I am loving essence, no matter what emotion is arising, because the truth is we're not our mind and we're not our emotions. We're loving consciousness. And so you can drop back into reminding yourself of that through washing your hands and putting water on your face. It's a great moment to just have self-care when you're really triggered and you're out of alignment from a conversation or something that's really evoked something in you and you're not sure what you're feeling. It's a great space to just go to the bathroom and connect with your drop-in, connect with your feelings, connect with yourself, and give yourself that love, and then become curious and start to ask yourself, I really want to hold a space of curiosity for myself. What is what are these feelings? What is this story? What is this identification I may hold? What is the judgment there? And then you really are, it's like you have a little chisel and a hammer, and you're chiseling away the stuff that's not working anymore and letting it fall away, and really come back to the heart of love with yourself, and love yourself even through the moments where you're angry or resentful or frustrated or whatever emotion is. It's really learning to hold a space and occupy that loving essence always.
And just to add a little piece that it popped up as you were in the mirror. I was there in the mirror with you, and you were like, I am loving essence. And I'm like, yes. And it reminded me about the show we did a couple times ago of Boundaries with Compassion and the Compliment Sandwich, and the importance of gratitude, sharing gratitude and appreciation for another person. So especially in conflict, sharing reassurance that you're not going to run away, even though you might want to. Don't get me wrong. Like, you be like, are you actually going to run away from this person, or are you in a frozen space? But really reassurance, like, hey, Dawn, I'm really upset right now. And I need a pause. I need a break. And I love you. And everything, like, I'm committed to our connection. I'm committed to our friendship. And I'm going to come back to that in a minute when I'm back in connection with myself. So reassurance is really important in relationships with self as well. Like, hey, Trish, I need to honor my own boundaries right now. I really got to come back into this. It's okay. I love you. You're beautiful. Your heart is beautiful, and you can come back. And also being really grateful for, Dawn, you give me so much opportunity to look at my stuff. And you do it so lovingly and so compassionately that it really gives me a lot of opportunity. And I'm really grateful for the person that you show up as in my life.
Thank you.
Thank you for showing up.
I feel the same for you, my love. Like, I really do. Like, what we share is so precious to me. And I get so much out of it, like so much awakening. The way you hold me, the way the show is so gracefully created weekly, and like the responses we get, like we just love our viewers, and I love my work with you, Trish. Thank you for the opportunity. It's precious. This existence is precious. Every waking moment, good, bad, ups, downs, sideways, all of it. It's precious.
It's so precious. And so, just to reiterate, self-love, self-empathy tool. Understand, like, really watching this video again and understanding how I'm going to watch this video again, how to receive criticism with love, and then offering reassurance and gratitude. It really is like this 4-step process is going to transform your relationship with criticism and feedback, and with your friends and your loves and your beloveds and family and anybody else, your boss, your coworker,
every relationship we have, really.
I'd really like to thank Love Coach Academy and Scott for hosting the Self-Love Show and for really inspiring the Self-Love Show. Thank you, Scott. And for teaching compassionate communication skills while helping build better relationships for over 8 years. If you don't know, and you're seeing this on a different platform, LCA is a community of highly trained coaches that offer coaching sessions for really affordable for individuals and couples, training in relationship and communication skills, and mentorships for those who want to dive deep. You can check them out. Oh, hold on. You can check them out at lovecoachacademy.com. They also run they have so many amazing shows that run twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. They have a great flagship show on Saturdays, which is called the Saturday Night Live with the Global Peace Tribe. And they're having amazing speakers like Deepak Chopra and Marianne Williamson. I mean, it's
awesome.
Amazing show with music and speakers and poetry and art, and just go watch it. You can find all that information on the lovecoachacademy.com at the Self-Love Show. And go ahead and reach out if you have any questions or comments or anything that you want to share about what the show offers you or what you'd like to see on the show. We're very open to feedback.
Yes, we love insight. We want to know what you're desiring to hear about, or hot topics that really, like, man, I really need to know about this. What tool do you have for this topic? We're open to that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One announcement. We are now going to come on an hour later starting next week. So instead of 9 a.m., we will be at 10. Just so anybody who's watching, show up at 10, and it'll also be, all the things will change. Where you see the information for this will change. Thank you guys for joining us today.
We love you. Mwah.